What is beauty? It sounds like such a simple question, almost obvious. And yet, most of us spend a lifetime trying to answer it. Not directly, not intentionally, more quietly. In the mirror, in comparison, in those moments where we wonder if we're doing enough or aging the right way or showing up as the version of ourselves that we thought we'd be by now. Beauty is something we're taught to notice early, sometimes before we even have words for it. We're taught what's praised, what's corrected, what's admired, and what's quietly discouraged. And over time, those messages settle in. They become beliefs. Beauty comes from culture, from family, from experiences that shape us more than we realize, from what's casually said, from what's never said at all, and maybe, most powerfully, from the voices we allow to stay loud in our own minds. Most of us don't consciously choose our definition of beauty. We inherit it. And then one day, usually much later, we realize we've been living inside a standard we didn't create. But if you slow down and you really sit with the question, beauty starts to feel less universal and more personal. There's something interesting that happens when we start questioning beauty. At first, it feels uncomfortable, like you're pulling on a thread you're not sure you're allowed to touch, because so much of what beauty feels is unquestionable. It's everywhere. It's reinforced constantly. We scroll, we compare, we absorb before we even realize that we're absorbing, and comparison is subtle. It doesn't always feel toxic right away. Sometimes it feels motivating, sometimes inspiring, sometimes harmless. Until one day it's not. Until you realize you've been measuring yourself against an image that isn't rooted in reality or context or comparison. I see this every day. Patients don't come in asking to look like themselves anymore. They come in asking to look like a filtered version of someone else. And when I slow down the conversation, when I really listen, what they're actually asking is, can I feel comfortable again? I'm Dr. Carol Eisenstat. I'm a board-certified physician. I practice aesthetic medicine, and I want to welcome you to The Line Eraser. This podcast is not about trends, it's not about perfection, and it's definitely not about quick fixes. It's about conversation, real conversation, about beauty, about confidence, medicine, motherhood, entrepreneurship, aging, ambition, doubt, and hopefully also growth. It's a space where we talk honestly, sometimes comfortably, sometimes uncomfortably, about what it means to live in your body, to build a life and evolve as a human being. So for this first episode, I wanted to start at the beginning with the foundation, beauty. Who actually defines it? Here's my take and what I've learned through medicine, through motherhood, through building a business, through aging just in real time. You do. You're the one who defines your own beauty. That sounds empowering, but yes, it's also scary because it means responsibility. It means letting go of standards that no longer fit, questioning beliefs that once felt safe, redefining yourself again and again. So before aesthetics, before Line Eraser MD, before any of this, I was and still am a proud anesthesiologist. Anesthesia is intense in a very quiet way. There is no spotlight, there is no applause, there is no recognition, just responsibility. Every single day, you're present at someone's most vulnerable moment. You're watching their breathing, their heart rate, their blood pressure, how their body responds. You're making decisions that matter even when no one else realizes that a decision is being made. Anesthesia teaches you restraint, precision, how to stay calm when things don't go as planned. But it's also isolating. You meet people briefly on one of their most vulnerable and stressful days of their life, and then you disappear. So over time, I realized something. I love medicine, but I miss the human part. I miss the conversation, connection, seeing people after that moment passed, seeing that confidence return. Anesthesia also teaches you something else. You don't rush decisions when the stakes are high. You pause, you reassess, you respect the human body, and you never forget that there's a person that's attached to that physiology. That mindset has carried into aesthetics naturally. Faces don't need dramatic intervention. They need understanding. They need patience. They need restraint. Some of the most meaningful consultations I've ever had ended with no treatment at all. Just reassurance, just education, just someone feeling heard. And that matters. And honestly, that is medicine too. So aesthetics didn't replace anesthesia for me. It just completed it. In aesthetics, I get time. I get to listen. I get to understand what beauty means to someone, not what it's supposed to mean. That anesthesiology mindset never left me. I am careful. I'm measured, intentional. Less isn't just more. Less is safer. Less is respectful. I see faces every single day. Faces that are shaped by stress, by ambition, by motherhood, by joy, by loss. Faces that reflect a life that's been fully lived. And I believe deeply that we're all naturally beautiful. Not because we look the same, not because we all carry something that's different, but because we carry something that's uniquely ours. And the most meaningful part of my work isn't changing a person. It's helping them recognize themselves again. Beauty isn't perfection. Honestly, perfection it's exhausting. Perfection doesn't bring inner peace. It brings a constant state of vigilance. You're always checking, you're always correcting, you're always wondering what's the next fix. Beauty is alignment. It's when you feel inside and what you have inside, it matches what you see reflected back in you in the mirror. And when those two things don't align, there's friction, or there's restlessness, there's self-criticism, that feeling of almost being yourself, but not there. But when they do, something settles, and that's a relief. One of my most favorite moments in my practice is completely silent. A patient looks in the mirror, there's a pause. Not shock, not drama, not excitement, just recognition of themselves, that they don't look different, that they just look like a refreshed, a more rested, more comfortable, more confident version of themselves. And that moment never gets old. Beauty also doesn't feel the same at every stage of life. In your 20s, beauty is loud, it's external, it's about being seen. In your 30s, it shifts. Life gets fuller. Responsibilities multiply. Beauty becomes something you try to maintain while holding everything else together. And then later, beauty becomes quieter, less about approval, more about peace. You start asking different questions. Do I recognize myself? Do I feel comfortable in my skin? Do I like how I show up in my life? Beauty is allowed to evolve because you evolve. I work in aesthetics, so I want to say this clearly. Aging is not failure. What I treat is not aging. I treat the disconnect when someone looks in the mirror, no longer recognizes themselves. In good aesthetics, it's not about erasing time. It's about respecting it. Softness, balance, restraint. If a treatment fakes you feel harsher or less like yourself, then it's missed the point. I have to say that motherhood also changed my relationship with beauty completely, not just physically, but emotionally. Your body changes, your time changes, your identity shifts. And the thing is that I constantly think about what my daughters absorb. Not what I say, but what I show, how I talk about myself to them, how I age, how I hold confidence. For them, beauty right now it's confidence, knowing that their voice matters, that they're capable, that they don't need permission to take up space. That matters. Motherhood also teaches you humility. Your body does extraordinary things and then asks you to just keep going. Sleep deprived, overstimulated, still showing up. It reframes beauty. Strength looks beautiful. Boundaries look beautiful. Rest looks beautiful. I want my daughters to know beauty isn't fragile. It doesn't disappear if you age or if you change. It's something you carry. I want my daughters to see partnership as something dynamic, not rigid, not fixed, not fragile. I want them to know that love can stretch, that support can evolve, that dreams don't have to shrink to fit inside someone else's comfort. I want them to see a mother who builds and a father also who stands beside that building, not because it's easy, because it's not, but because it's worth it. Line Eraser didn't start big. It started in a shared 10 by 10 room with another physician, no branding, no website, no team, no safety net, just a clear vision. I wanted it to be medicine, to feel calm, for it to be thoughtful, to feel heard. And honestly, that room just shaped everything, because when you start small, every single decision matters to you. And that philosophy has never left me. So on another aspect, my husband has been a part of this journey from the beginning. And I want to pause here for a moment because this part matters. He didn't sign up for this. He didn't sign up to build a medical practice. He didn't sign up for the late nights or uncertainty or social media or me coming home exhausted but being unable to shut my brain off. He didn't sign up for my ambition constantly evolving, for my identity shifting, for the version of me that's changed as this dream grew. So when people talk about entrepreneurship, they often frame it as this bold, exciting leap. And sometimes it is, but a lot of the time it's a quiet disruption. Missed dinners, interrupted weekends, conversations that start with, I just need a few more minutes. So when I started Line Eraser MD, I was stepping into something new. He was adjusting to something completely new too. A wife who was building a schedule that was not predictable, a future that didn't come with any guarantees. And that matters. Because support, it's not passive. Support, it's active. It's patience, flexibility. It's believing in something you didn't personally imagine, but choosing to stand beside it anyway. There have been moments when I questioned myself, moments where there was doubt that felt louder than any kind of confidence. He saw that, not just the vision, but the fear underneath it all. And he didn't try to fix it. He didn't rush it. He didn't minimize me. He just stayed steady. And that steadiness is something that you don't recognize fully until you're standing in the middle of uncertainty. Building something meaningful doesn't just ask things of you. It asks things of the people who love you. And I think we don't acknowledge that often. Because dreams ripple outward. They touch marriages, families, children, time. No one prepares you for the way that ambition reshapes relationships, not in a dramatic way, in a slow, cumulative way. Schedules adjust, roles blur, conversations change. You're no longer just talking about today. You're talking about 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And sometimes you don't have answers. You just have the intention, and that requires trust. I think about how many women quietly hold back because they don't want to disrupt the balance, because they don't want to ask too much, because they don't want to inconvenience the people that they love. I get it. It was me. But growth is inconvenient, and it doesn't make it selfish. It makes it real. You don't build something meaningful alone. So this podcast is where we talk about beauty without pressure, aging without any fear, aesthetics with medical education, not hype, motherhood without martyrdom, entrepreneurship without pretending like it's easy. Some episodes will be educational, some reflective, some uncomfortable, but all of them will be honest. This isn't about erasing who you are, it's about refining how you see yourself, because not all lines should be erased. Some softened, some honored, some just left exactly as they are. So before we end, I'll leave you with this. Beauty isn't something that you earn. It's not permission that you're given. It doesn't disappear with time. Beauty is something that you define again and again through every season of your life. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I'm Dr. Carol Eisenstat, and this is The Line Eraser.